Our story starts with our main character, who always preferred reading comics and novels over playing with other kids. He admired the main characters and wanted to be like them. Then one day, he got addicted to a certain game, but unlike many of us, MC was talented and became a pro gamer. He showed good results but was never able to win the championship. No matter how hard he tried, he could never become the main character. Until it happened. An event known as the Cataclysm changed everything. Reality became more like a game, dungeons formed all over the world, and monsters started to come out of them. To resist the onslaught of monsters, humans with the ability to use swords and magic started to appear, called mana users. Quickly, mana users became more popular than celebrities and athletes. They were the main characters that our MC dreamed of becoming, so he decides to become a mana user. 8 years later, we see our MC's dreams have been utterly crushed. He finds out he only has 7 mana and talents that are useless in combat. He lashes out, wondering why he had to go through so much suffering just to get trash abilities. He decides to wake up from his fantasies and goes home to get some rest before work the next day. When he gets home, he is welcomed by a woman he doesn't recognize and thinks he walked into someone else's home. He leaves but quickly returns, realizing it was in fact his home. She introduces herself as Winry Makina, an agent of the universe, and she says she came to pay respects to him and give him a gift. Our MC is confused and thinks that she's part of a cult, but she tells him that he is the second person to awaken level 3 communication since the start of the universe. She then bestows onto him some skills and disappears. The skills he receives are observation, status window, tolerance, and info gacha. Her voice tells him to check his status window for more info. He follows her instructions and opens his status window, then goes to see what type of skill info gacha is. A weird toy vending machine appears and spits out a golden capsule. He opens it and is given the winning lottery number. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What would you do if you had insane luck for a day? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. We then shift to the previous day where guild leader Choi Cheol-yoon explains how difficult it has been to compete with other guilds for quality dungeons, and then praises MC because he secured the contract for a recently discovered dungeon. The extras are excited and praise Coates, but a mana user in the room belittles his accomplishment, saying all he does is drink with people, while he has to go out in the dungeon and risk his life. The guild leader yells at him and apologizes for the mana user's lack of manners. The leader then gives MC his bonus for landing the contract with the bonus money. MC now has enough money to pay the fee to awaken and finally become a mana user in this world. A tool known as the Awaker can turn normal people into mana users, while also measuring their stats and talents. We see that MC's co-workers also came along to support him, and Yoon Seo-yoon, another co-worker, goes into the machine first. MC notices the rude mana user giving Yoon a weird look. We then shift our attention to someone who has just awakened with mediocre talent and so-so mana. 2 extras explain the Awaker is also called the Lucky Draw, saying how if one gets skills suitable for combat they'll be set, but everything else is a waste of money. If you get a backdrop. Seo-yoon then comes out of the Awaker, and everyone is shocked that she has 27 mana and a high number of talents, with her main talent being Satis. Everyone in the room goes nuts and surrounds her, saying she's going to be the next rising star. MC congratulates her for hitting the jackpot, but as they talk, MC is called in to go next. She wishes him the best of luck as he goes into the Awaker. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day. What's the best weapon in Manhwa? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. Inside the room, he sees a yellow orb called Odin's Eye, and a voice tells him to firmly put his hands on it. MC is ecstatic that he'll finally become a mana user and accomplish his dreams, but that's all shattered when his results come in. Our MC only has 7 mana and 3 talents, with his main talent being communication. Without any talent suitable for combat, he's recommended not to join a combat team. At the front desk, both MC and Seo-yoon receive mono watches that can track how much mana they have left. His co-worker tries to get him to go home and rest, but he decides to go out drinking. Back in the present, MC is still trying to wrap his head around his current situation. He wonders who was the woman that gave him such a skill, because skills can only be obtained during one's first level up, or by finding a rare skill stone in a dungeon. But there is one thing that he knows for sure. His info catch allows him to get information about the future. He decides to look into it further and use the skill again. Once again, the vending machine appears and tells him it costs 1 mana per try, but he only pulls blue capsules that tell him useless information. He complains that the gacha is rigged, but notices that his status window tells him his stats and others in real time, unlike the mono watch, which has a delay. He laments that he only has 7 mana, so he can't use the Gacha skill as much as he wants. He then uses his last mana on his Gacha and receives super rare information. It tells him that a new dungeon will appear. We've fast forwarded to our MC making his way to the mansion dungeon. As he reaches his destination, the portal to the dungeon appears before him. MC is excited, noting that the dungeon is a treasure dungeon. He says there have only been 2 known treasure dungeons, one at a dragon's den in England, and one in the panda's bamboo forest in China. We are then told that dungeons are only named when they break or can cause a huge disaster, or when a legendary item is discovered in one. These treasure dungeons don't have any monsters, and you're able to get a legendary item as long as you pass the test. Hopeful about his prospects, he enters the dungeon with the unceasing sea of frustration. Because he's been walking in circles, he realizes it's an illusion, so he reluctantly uses his observation skill and finds a hidden door. He enters the door and finds a room full of dwarfs. They welcome him and congratulate him on passing the first test. Chfor, one of the dwarves, introduces himself as Giz and says the second test is to fight him. If MC wins, he'll get a reward, but if he loses, they just let him go. MC is shocked that he doesn't have to clear the dungeon, but they explain that there have been 4 others before him. He asks if their fight is going to be a spar, but the other dwarves burst out laughing. They call humans uncivilized for wanting to fight with their fists, and explain they stopped doing that because the humans would always lose. They lead him to a room with a TV and gaming console and say they'll battle using it. Giz is showing him the controls, and MC recognizes the fighting game they are about to play is similar to the game he used to be a pro at. They hand him the controller, and MC activates his talent, a game that doubles his gaming skills. He wins against Giz, leaving all the dwarves astonished by his flawless victory. The other dwarves ask for him to face them, but he declines, saying he doesn't want to waste his time if it doesn't benefit him. Yet the dwarves say if he can beat all of them, they'll give him an even better reward, by making something exclusively just for him. The result is obvious. MC came out on top. One of the dwarves begins to analyze him, but quickly runs into an issue and asks for some help. They are all shocked to see his talents are game level 2 when communication level 3, but MC doesn't understand, so they explain. If someone has a level 1 talent, it'll take them over a generation to achieve level 2. They tell him how level 3 is, for the most part, unachievable. They say level 3 can create concepts. One of the dwarves can see the future and uses it to see how MC will fight so they can make him proper equipment. With that, they get to work and tell him to wait. They quickly come back and toss him a bracelet. He thinks that they scammed him since they didn't take that long, but they tell him that they can accelerate time. They also give him a bag of mana stones as an extra gift. They tell him to come back if he gets a chance and send him on his way. Once outside, he checks out the bracelet they made him. It's called the King of Arms, and it can change into any weapon the user imagines while also boosting all the user's stats by 10. He's shocked by the effects but thinks it is too vague and uses info gacha but only gets useless info. The next day, he walks into work and finds the offices pretty empty. The guild leader says he gave them a break before their expedition. He asks MC to participate so he can get his first skill, and MC agrees, seeing it as a chance to test out his item. On the day of the expedition, MC uses a tool to check if the information they received was correct. After confirming the info, the guild leader reminds them to let him see, and Seo-yoon finish the monster so they can level up and get their first skill. The combat squad is made up of 6 people, including MC and Seo-yoon, although it might be considered overkill for a D-ranked dungeon. The guild leader reminds them that they lost to be ranked mana users on the last expedition, and with that, they begin and enter the dungeon. Once they enter, they are greeted by a lizard man, which the rude mana user easily takes care of. He lets Seo-yoon take the kill and forces MC to collect all the monasteries as they keep exploring. The rude mana user only lets Seo-yoon get the last kill. When called out on it by the other teammates, he says he doesn't care. This earns him more disdain from his teammates who plan to make a complaint against him when the raid is over. Seeing his lack of regard and disrespect for the guild leader, our MC wonders what he might be scheming. They reach the boss room, and the leading party defeats the boss in a single hit. The extra safes, and Seo-yoon got all the experience she needs. That should let him get the last hit on the boss. But as expected, he says he doesn't care, and that he won't let them get out of the dungeon. Realizing what is about to happen, our MC yells at his comrades to dodge, but he is too late, and he gets stabbed by the mean guy. He then launches an attack on the other 2. Dark energy leaves the body of the extras he killed, and he absorbs it, getting stronger in the process. MC uses observation to look at his stats and skills, and sees a skill called Corpse Plunder. MC figures out it was him who killed the 2 mana users in the last raid. He goes on a villain rant, saying he didn't want to rush things but couldn't wait to take Seo-Yoon's abilities. He goes in to kill MC, but his attack is blocked by the King of Arm, and a sword for Seo-Yoon goes in to sneak attack him, but he easily knocks her back, telling her to wait her turn. MC goes to her to check to see if she was okay. He uses observation and sees that Seo-Yoon has leveled up and received a skill called Absolute Shield. He tells Seo-Yoon, and she activates the skill with the barrier around him. The mean guy starts to relentlessly attack them as he tries to break the barriers, and our MC attempts to kill the boss so he can level up. He breaks the barrier but is too late. Our MC gets the last hit on the boss, but he explains that the portal opens 20 to 30 minutes after the boss is defeated. Our MC remains calm and tells him he was aiming for a level up. The skill he receives from leveling up is called Connection Gacha, that allows him to load the stats and talent from a randomly selected person recorded in the true universe. He uses the skill and is given a random card. His body is then surrounded by light. Not knowing what is going on, the murderer tries to kill him before anything happens, but the attack is stopped, and he's pushed back by the MC's counterattack. MC looks at his status window and we see that he is now overpowered. He now has the stat and skills of Lu Bufengxia, a Chinese military general and warlord that lived in the Han Dynasty. Even his master of arms turned into Lu Bu's weapon. The murderer tries to taunt our MC, but he is not fazed, showing off a terrifying aura, making the murderer panic. But he still goes to attack MC again. His attack is blocked, and his weapons are shattered. With that, MC finishes him off, telling him to repent in hell after defeating him. MC wonders whether he's an S rank or even an SS rank since he managed to defeat an A rank so easily. But before he gets caught up in his thoughts, he runs to check up on Seo-Yoon. As he checks her condition, a spirit appears behind him, saying she probably used excessive internal energy and is showing signs of Chi Berserk. Surprised by the presence of the spirit explains that MC was the one to call him to the present, and says his name is Lu Bufengxian, who tells them that her injuries aren't that serious. All he has to do is infuse internal energy in her life gateway pressure point. MC does as he's told and Seo-Yoon's condition gets better. Things settle and Seo-Yoon thanks MC for bringing him out. He says his time is up and asks to be summoned again, and they say their goodbyes. He sits there in the aftermath of the battle, thinking if only he was faster he could have saved his fallen teammates. Suddenly, a notification pops up, saying a part of Feng Xian's ability will remain in his body, and we see his stats increase. He obtained a new skill. The portal opens, and MC exits the dungeon carrying Seo-Yoon, only seeing 2 of them exiting. The Guildmaster yells to get Seo-Yoon medical care, and he prepares to get the bad news. MC gives the Guildmaster his report, tells him about the murders, and shows him the footage from the dungeon camera. The Guildmaster blames himself for not recognizing the signs sooner, but MC tries to comfort him. The Guildmaster quickly comes to the conclusion that the other deaths were also due to it. MC considers telling the Guildmaster about his item but decides not to, thinking it will endanger the lives of himself and those who are. They decide to end the meeting, and MC heads home. When home, he takes a deep look at the skill he acquired. He sees a drop-down arrow on the info and connection gacha. Under the drop-down, it is a guaranteed gacha skill, allowing him to load the stats and abilities of any mana user he has met, including Feng Xiang and 2 of the dwarves. However, the latter cost way too much for our MC. Noticing the other dwarves aren't there, he realizes that he has to meet them personally and know their names for them to be registered. He figures out that to make good use of this ability, he needs to meet more mana users and raise his mana capacity. He uses the rest of his mana on his info gacha, but gets nothing. Nope, nothing at all. So he waits till midnight because in this world, mana refills at the start of every day. Once his mana is refilled, he uses the connection gacha, but it was unlike the last time when he drew an epic hero. This time he received the card of someone with stats lower than his own. His name is Liu Shan, and MC recognizes him as the incompetent person who ruined the Han Dynasty. Like before, a spirit of him appears. MC is disappointed by this and walks away as the spirit is talking to him. Liu Shan demands MC to take a look at his talent. Good luck level 2. MC finally realizes the ability is good for gambling and proceeds to use the info gacha. On his first try, he pulls out a golden capsule and praises Liu Shan. The capsule tells the time and places a dungeon will form, along with the info that there is a chance to get a skill stop. MC asks why spirits show him so much goodwill and what the afterlife is like, but Liu Shan says he is mistaken. He's not the real Liu Shan that lived, but a fake persona of him created by the information recorded in the real universe. MC realizes the true meaning of his abilities and talent, which is communication level 3. Liu Shan tells him that he is basically Liu Shan's creator, also saying since his skill was a gift, it would obviously have goodwill in it. Before leaving, he tells MC that no matter who he calls on, they'll try their best to help him. The next day at work, the guildmaster tells his staff he'll be disbanding the guild due to the death of the entire combat team. He explains that it's not only more expensive to recruit new members, but due to the number of deaths in the guild recently, nobody is dumb enough to accept their offer. Later, while in conversation, the former guildmaster asks MC if he plans to live as a mana user. MC says yes, and the guildmaster tells him to be careful. He then hands MC a folder of documents so he can attend an academy to get the basic training he needs. The guildmaster switches the topic and tells him they found out he was a member of the Karma Guild, the largest multinational guild. However, they act more like a cult than anything, and he tells MC again to be careful. He thanks MC for his hard work and wishes him the best. The next day, we see MC and Liu Shan after losing to the info gacha, since the good luck skill is level 2 and not level 3. They can't be guaranteed to always win. Liu Shan tells him to roll the connection gacha tomorrow so he can get stronger. The next day comes around and he does just that. We find our MC in front of the academy. He updated his mono watch, and we can see how strong he has become, mostly due to the Master of Arms and the gold card he received last night. She was a female knight that MC has never heard of, and Seo Yun calls out to him, asking if he's okay after the incident. Our MC says he is fine, and they remember how she used to run to get a good seat when he was a pro gamer. As they walk together, Seo Yun stalks, and MC thinks she's suspicious of him because of what happened in the dungeon. But to his surprise, she just wanted to clean his jacket. He's thankful that she didn't bring up the subject, and they continue to the academy. Hermana users, to enter the dungeon, they are required to receive 1 month of compulsory education. Users that are part of a guild receive education from their guild, but those who aren't receive it through the user academy. Those who are part of a guild would get more personal training, while the academy isn't as individualized and is more group-focused. In their test room, we see it's filled with many mana users who are trying to join the academy. On the stage, an instructor says the admission test will now begin. He says they have to hit the bear as hard as they can, and if they get 30 points, they pass. He then calls up a confident bald extra. With all his might, he strikes the bear, but he gets 27 points and fails. Baldy tries to complain, saying the machine was broken, but the instructor hits it, getting an 88. He then tells the next applicant to come up. As they go up, most fail, but some pass. Until it's Seo Yun's turn. She kicks the bear and scores a 67, impressing the entire room. The instructor looks her up and wonders why she's at the academy when she has a lot of offers from big kilns. MC congratulates her and steps up for his turn. He is told to begin and winds up his kicks. His game level 2 talent activates, doubling his stats. He hits the bear and knocks it back, shocking the instructor. He scored a 91 and passes. Everyone is shocked because he is 6 under the all-time high score. 1 month later, we see the guild leader being hounded by a scouter trying to get information on the Sant so they can try to recruit her. One of the scouts sees a document about the academy and leaves the room. He makes a call to tell someone to send a scout to the academy. Back at the academy in the first week, they learn monster theory. The second week is weapons training. In the third week, they take emergency drills, and in the last week, they do joint training. On the last day of class, they are tested to see if they can graduate. On the second to last day of class, Seo Yun is taking a walk but is interrupted by a guild scout. He tries to talk to her but she runs away, saying she is not going to join. Seo Yun finds a place to hide, but a man creeps up from behind and introduces himself as a member of the Ramgar. But Seo Yun is expected, so she runs away and declines to speak with any of the scouts. She finally gets away and has a seat by herself. She complains about the attention and wonders why she doesn't take an offer, but Seo Yun replies by saying she'll do as she likes. As she is about to ask him what his plans are for after the academy, they are interrupted by a large man whose name is Kang Hae-shik. He's nervous and excited about the final exam. He asks our MC if he wants to have a mock battle with him, but our MC declines. But Kang Hae-shik says they can use Mana Virtual, a magical VR tool that allows the user to train and spar in a virtual space. But there lies the issue because of his game talent. His stats are doubled in VR. If he gets too used to fighting in VR, he'll feel frustrated with his real stats. He complains that there is nobody for him to duel, but Seo Yun challenges him, giving off a menacing aura. He is excited since she always said no to sparring, but she tells him it's because she is stressed out in VR. Seo Yun punches Kang Hae-shik in his face. This sends him flying. He thinks she's trying to kill him, but since it's VR, she continues the fight. Kang Hae-shik decides to fight back and rushes to strike Seo-yoon, but she dodges and counterattacks, kicking him. MC is surprised that Kang Hae-shik is taking her blows well. She breaks free for a moment, but Seo-yoon rushes back in for an uppercut, securing the victory. The instructor watches them as they practice. He thinks that MC reminds him of the person who has the academy record of 96, and the individual who went on to become the world's 9th SS rank user. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out Gevrverver 6391, who commented, "Finally someone who actually adds the title in, thanks," on our Hero to Villain video. Thanks for commenting. At the site of the final exam, they are told their task is to clear an E-ranked dungeon. If they can do so, they'll get the right to enter dungeons. A B-rank instructor will go with them for safety and supervision. As they wait for the exam to start, Seo-yoon gets a panic attack due to what happened last time, but MC and Kang Hae-shik snap her out of it. Team 1 is told to enter the dungeon. MC and Kang Hae-shik hope that everything goes well because Seo-yoon is on that team, but Seo-yoon and her team come out safe. Next up is Team 2, so MC and Kang Hae-shik get ready to enter the dungeon. Seo-yoon tells him to be safe, and he says he will and invites her to get food afterward. The instructor explains to them the objective of the exam, and they enter the dungeon. As soon as they enter, the group is already in battle formation, and the instructor evaluates their actions. MC takes charge and starts to direct his team. The instructor pays close attention to MC, saying he has enough to one day become an S rank. They see an orc, and it rushes at them. As he gets ready to block it, he's pushed back by the attack, and the sub-tanker goes to back him up. Our main character, MC, jumps in and goes for the kill. The instructor thinks that he should have been able to lock rank orc's charge, so he concludes that the dungeon they're in is close to a VRAG dungeon. Suddenly 3 orcs charge them. The archer shoots at them, but they only graze them. He shook blocks one of the orcs' charges and flips him over, allowing the group to kill him while he's down. At the same time, outside of the dungeon, someone notices an error. The site's supervisor demands to know which secret trader the academy used for this dungeon. He finds out it was the Karma Guild. Out of rage, she tossed the man that bought it. He tells everyone that they have been fooled and were given false information about the dungeon. Back in the dungeon, they finally reach the boss room. They open the door and sensed a horrifying aura. They head inside, but as soon as the instructor sees the box, he immediately stops the exam and says it is an emergency. He tells the party that this is an A-rank boss. The boss charges at them. Outside of the dungeon, the man who bought the academy this dungeon is imprisoned, and thus Seo Sang-hui takes charge of the scene. The situation looks grim since the strongest in the dungeon is only B rank, and the boss is an A rank. Someone asks if there is a way to rescue them. Sang-hui says it's not possible. They can't enter the dungeon unless everyone in it dies, and all they can do is get revenge for their deaths. Back in the boss room, the boss goes to attack with his massive axe, and he strikes fear into the rookies. As the axe is about to hit them, the instructor casts a spell to bind the Orc Lord. He tells everyone he'll be taking over the raid, and starts giving out commands. He tells them to try and kill the Orc while it is still binded, but most of the rookies are in despair. The Orc Lord breaks out of the spell and gets ready to kill the instructor, but MC jumps in to stop it, surprising everyone on the raid, even the boss. We flash back to a few minutes, and MC decides he can't afford to hide his strength and calls out Liu Shan. He uses Liu Shan's luck and they use Connection Gadget. He gets a notification guaranteeing a rare or above, then a diamond card appears on MC's back. Back in the present, MC knocks back the boss and he breaks a column. This draws some suspicion from the instructor, and MC says it's just luck, but it wasn't luck. He had loaded Siegfried, a great German hero known as the Dragon Slayer. The Orc Lord gets back up. Our MC uses observation and see the Orc Lord as level 82, basically as strong as an S rank. The boss rushes to attack MC, but who's ready to strike back. Their blades meet, but MC carries it and gets in a defensive stance. The Orc Lord attacks again, but MC dodges, countering the attack. This enraged the Orc Lord and he goes all out, but again his attack is blocked. They continue their battle. The rest of the party just watches in awe, both in seats. The Orc Lord prepares to end the fight, and they go in for a final strike. MC lands a hit in the center of the Orc Lord's chest, winning their battle. The Orc falls to the ground, and MC's spirit of sacred tells MC he did a good job. Everyone else runs over and thanks and sees MC for saving their lives. They have lots of questions but decide to do that later. However, it turns out the boss wasn't dead. He gets back up. He attempts to chop MC's head off, but Hae-shik pushes MC out of the way and blocks the hit. He falls back, coughing out blood. MC tries to retaliate, but he's blunt. The instructor tells MC that the boss must have acquired a new skill while on the verge of death. The boss mutated. He let out a war cry, stunning most of the party. The boss rushes at MC. He tries to parry and go for the legs, but the Orc Lord sees through this. He counters, MC blocks it, and Sacred tells him to use his skilled Dragon Blood Awakening. He tells them it'll heal his wounds and increase his stacks while active. Amazed by this cheat skill, MC doesn't see the attack and gets hit. He defends the blows, but before he can use the sacred skill, the time on the catcher runs out. Now MC's stats are back to normal. The Orc Lord recognises MC has gotten a lot weaker and gives him a smug look. Without any mana to use the gadget, he finds himself in a grim situation. The Orc Lord reaches out to MC and he thinks to himself he's come too far to die like this. He tries his best to use his normal abilities, but it is useless. Then he gets a notification saying the Master of Arms has perfectly recreated the abilities of Secret Sword Balmung. It boosts the user's stat by 1000%. With this power up, he was able to cut the Orc Lord in half. After the battle, he levels up and is thankful for his weapon and the dwarves that gave it to him. He also gains some of Siegfried's stats and the skill of Dragon Blood Awakening. He finds out that gold cards give stats, while diamond cards give stats and a skill. Everyone else that witnessed the fight is on edge, thinking MC is going to kill them now that they know his secret. But MC is offended by the sentiment. All the extras are relieved by this, and they prepare to exit the dungeon. Outside, the group prepares drastic measures. The gate starts to act up, and they get ready to end, but the entirety of Team 2 walks out. The instructor congratulates the team. Sun Hui walks up to them and asks what happened. She wants to know how they beat the boss, but then she sees the Orc Lord's axe, and it immediately grabs her interest. A man from the academy enters the stage and tries to lay claim to the axe. He thinks the instructor was the one that killed the boss, so due to contract the loot belongs to the school. Sungoi is disgusted by the fat man's behaviour. He reaches for the axe but is stopped by the MC. He tells them that the axe belongs to him because he killed the boss. At first the man doesn't believe in C, but the instructor confirmed his story. MC yells at the man saying he should check on the rest of the team instead of trying to steal his axe. Then Sang Yui tells them to bring the students to the hospital. At the hospital she is given a report. The instructor that was in the dungeon gave her all the details, including the part about the MC's weapon-changing forms. Sang Hui wonders if he has a creation skill that allows him to create weapons similar to SS-Ranked mana user Whitesmith. So she goes to see for herself in his room and takes a look at his stats, and is pleased with his progress but thinks he needs to get stronger since he can't always rely on the catcher. As he thinks about how he'll overcome this wall, Sang Hui and the instructor walk into his room. She asks if he's okay, but since he didn't get injured, he says he should be out the next day. She's relieved and introduces herself as Seo Sang Hui, and says she is one of the task force leaders for the Korean Users Association. She says she owes him an explanation about what happened. Long story short, in the academy, a salesperson was cheated in a dungeon scam. The location of the scammer who made the deal is unknown. MC guesses it was due to the Karma Guild, but they don't have any proof. MC thinks it might be due to his incident with the murderer from the previous part, so he asks why they think it's karma. Sang Hui says the association has had friction with the Karma Guild before. Relieved by this, MC then asks why they would target students. The instructor said they were probably after him because his father is the academy director. He apologizes for the trouble and offers compensation, so Sang Hui accepts it. Sang Hui then asks MC if he would like to work for the government, but he quickly turns her down. In a flashback, we see he has already served his time in the military and doesn't wish to go back. Sang Hui says there are several benefits like free use of government-run facilities, dungeons, and massive tax exemptions. But the catch is that 4 times a month, he would have to clear the dungeon for the government, and they would get 70% of the profits. MC refuses again. Since he refused, she makes another deal. She asks if they could request him to clear dungeons for the association. She explains that as the number of dungeons increases, the number of mana users won't be sufficient. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.